Okay, so our group is General Motors Incorporated. I'm Alex Borst. We with Lucas Cantu, Jhon, Kerby, Gerlin. And for the first slide, I will be talking about the determinants of demand. The six factors to determining demand for General Motors is going to be, the first one is going to be price, consumer income, availability of pricing, consumer preferences, competition, and economic conditions. GM uses these six variables to figure out the market demands. And for price, the price of GM vehicles, it's going to play a significant role in determining the level of demand for their products. If prices are too high, customers may opt for cheaper alternatives. And if prices are really low, it's going to attract more buyers. Many people keep their vehicles a lot longer if it operates safely and unless they're going to get rid of it if the vehicle maintenance or they don't operate safely any longer, but the vehicle maintenance gets too costly. Customers may also purchase a pre-owned vehicle, and these will be all the alternatives instead of purchasing a new one. And these high prices can have a large impact on the sales for General Motors because these people seek out these alternatives. Next one is consumer income. The level of consumer income can have a major impact on the demand for GM vehicles. As people's income rise, they're definitely more willing and able to purchase higher end vehicles, while lower income customers may opt for less expensive alternatives. These would be things like used vehicles or just cheaper vehicles that GM doesn't have as much of a markup on, or they purchase every 10 years or so, and GM isn't able to sell them a vehicle more frequently and make more money. General Motors carries a variety of vehicles that appeal to many target markets, compact vehicles that are very fuel efficient, all the way up to specialized work vehicles. Next one is availability of financing. Access to financing can play a key role in determining the demand for General Motors vehicles. If financing options are limited or too expensive, customers may be less likely to purchase vehicles from GM. Interest rates often affect customers' purchase decision. Low interest rates will encourage more people to purchase a new vehicle, while a high interest rate will discourage people from buying these new vehicles. Customer preferences. Factors of the vehicle, such as style, size, fuel efficiency, and technological factors, can all influence the demand. If customers prefer certain models or features over others, demand for those products will likely be higher. The demand for small and mid-sized SUVs has really increased over the last 15 years. People enjoy the extra space and all-wheel drive that is pretty typical with these vehicles, while they're not sacrificing the fuel efficiency or maneuverability. As a result, sedans are less desirable vehicles, and smaller SUVs have taken over the market. These are some of just the customer preferences that we see today. And for competition, the level of competition in the automotive industry can impact demand for GM vehicles. If there are many competitors offering similar products at lower prices or with better features, GM demand definitely decreases quite a bit as people start to take these other alternatives up. The car market is highly competitive, and GM has one of the most competitive rivalries with Ford Motor Company, and Ford competes with them in almost every product line. Economic decisions such as a recession or a downturn in the automotive industry can impact the demand for GM vehicles. If the economy is really strong, customer confidence may be higher, leading to increased demand for GM vehicles. In a weak economy, demand for GM vehicles decreases as customers are very cautious with their spending. So with that, we know that General Motors sales are cyclical and they ride the waves of the economic turns, interest rates, inflation, things that drive automobile prices up, largely affect the demand for a new car. Gas prices can affect car sales as well. This can be looked at in a positive or a negative way. Some people trade in their gas guzzling vehicle for a smaller car, which can result in a sale for GM in the smaller vehicle, more fuel efficient lineup. On the negative side, though, people don't purchase vehicles sometimes because the gas prices are high, and sometimes prices all around are higher and inflation's higher, and it makes it much more difficult to purchase a new vehicle.
And then getting into elasticity of demand. Uh, Again, price elasticity of demand is your percent change in quantity over the percent change in price. And just some examples here of the different ways that graph can lay out. A perfectly elastic good would be where a small price change causes a huge or infinite change in demand. An example of this could be like at a farmer's market where someone has corn for $1.50 and across the way somebody has corn for $1. So whatever lower price there is, all the demand's going to go to that one. Perfectly inelastic, a real world example of that would be a life-saving drug. So no matter how much that price of that drug is, people are going to need to buy it to save their life. Something that is unitary elastic is a little bit more arbitrary. So an example we'll see on this next page, I think it is shoes. There are really any substitutes for shoes, but at the same time, you can hold on to your pair. There are some different avenues you can go. Relatively elastic, that'd be something like Ford GM, a car. So as Alex was talking about, you can hold on to your old car, and there are major competitors. So somebody else has a cheaper car, they're likely to use them. And then finally, something that's relatively inelastic, that's something like cigarettes. Although the price has gone up considerably in recent years, people are still buying them. Here's just a chart showing some common items and their elasticities. So again, we can see shoes was at that 0.91, so that's about unitary elastic. Motor vehicles is over 1, saying it is an elastic good, and then there's cigarettes there at a 0.25 elasticity. There was an article in Harvard talking about the scaling of elasticity. So automobiles in the long run, it could have a lowest elasticity. So that would mean over a long period of time, people are going to get new vehicles. And then in rural areas, you're more likely to have vehicle purchases due to the fact that people need transportation. In a city, there's more substitutes. But in the short run, so that looks at an elasticity of 1.2 to 1.5, and that would be due to all the competition and the substitutes that are there. And as far as GM is concerned, their own price elasticity, they are elastic. If they change their price, people are more likely to go to competitor. The income elasticity of demand, Alex mentioned this as well. If people's incomes go up, they're more likely to buy a new vehicle. So that means it's a normal good and not an inferior good. And finally, that cross elasticity of demand. If other competitors are changing things, they're substitutes. So these cars aren't complements of their competitors. And automakers do have a fairly short time to adjust to substitutes. So as other automakers are offering new features, you'll very likely see these features in the next year to be able to keep up. New cars are typically seen as a luxury item. And then there was another note I had seen on NerdWallet just saying you shouldn't be spending more than 10% on your car payment. So, I mean, that's a relatively large portion of consumer spending. So, I mean, if your income goes up by $1,000 or so a year, that's an extra $100 or so a month you can put towards a car, which is a decent portion of your income to go towards that.
The automotive industry can be considered an oligopoly market structure. An oligopoly market structure is characterized by a small number of large firms dominating the market. In the automotive industry, a few large firms such as Toyota, General Motors, Ford, and Volkswagen dominate the market. As you can notice in this market share, we can see the 5 top brands that are dominating the market. And when you look at the market share, you will see that there's not much difference. It's like from 2% only, the difference between each of them. And that's why we come up with this HHI and CO4. The product product differentiation. The automotive industry is characterized by a high degree of product differentiation. Each firm has its own unique brand identity, and there are many different types of vehicles available in the market. This makes it challenging for new firms to compete uh, with established players. But at the same time, when we are looking at the differentiation, but there's some similarity between both product. One of the differentiation uh, the future and qualities. As now we have a lot of electronic vehicle, and they come up with a lot of like future stuff in order to make them attractive. And some similarities, like all vehicles, they have engine, transmission, and chassis, which is the main part of them. Now, entry barriers in the automotive industry. There's a high barriers to entry. The automotive industry requires significant capital investment to enter, making it difficult for new firms to enter the market. The high costs of research and development, manufacturing, and marketing make it challenging for new firms to compete with established established players. And as we can see that we have the economy of scale and scope, and one which describe the variety of product that a company can produce, and the other one is and it's a quantity of product with the same thing that reduce the amount of price that is paying for one product. Now let's say the non price competition. Uh, in this market, there's not only the price competition, but most of the time there's the non-price competition as well, such as firm in the automotive industry compete on factors other than price, such as product design, quality, and innovation. This is the same thing that I said earlier about like future stuff that are added to the vehicle right now. This type of competition is typical in an oligopoly market structure where firms try to defend themselves from the competitors. And about the the automotive industry differs significantly across countries. It is like based on the countries. But by example, in my country, it's like a third world country. Some vehicle that we use in the US, they won't be able to use in my country because there's no infrastructure, and they have to some company like GM and Toyota and Ford, they have to build their own brand. This is the same brand, but their own uh, really differently for the third world country because of lack of infrastructure. At the end, I think GM used a two-part pricing, uh, which means one part is fixed and the other part will be charged per unit. By example, if I'm gonna buy a GM car right now, it is not the same thing if GVS would like to buy a float of GM cars. And the fixed part will be the same for everyone, whether me buying it or GVS you buying it, but the per unit price will be different because if GVS is buying like let's say 15 or 20 vehicles and I'm buying only one, it won't be the same price when we divide 20 vehicle per the price that I'm paying. We're gonna see a huge difference with all of that.
Yeah, and here's just a few of our sources we used. But that concludes the presentation. Hope you enjoyed.